Hello, everyone. My name is Volen Arkumarev from the Bulgarian Society for the Protection of Birds. And today I will shortly present to you the status of the sacred falcon in Bulgaria and some conservation work on the species and small mammals. Some historical data. The Saker falcon was a relatively common species in the early 20th century, with the population estimated at about 100 to 200 pairs in Bulgaria. It was breeding along the Danube River in northeast Bulgaria, in the Balkan Mountain, and also in the some of the lowlands of South Bulgaria. However, already in the 1960, the population was already largely depleted. And then in the next few decades, in some parts of the country, the population showed some slight increases, but it was already extinct from the lowlands and remained only in the mountainous areas of the country. In 1985, the national population was estimated at about 20 to 40 pairs, but the steep population decline continued over the next 20 years. So the last recorded breeding for the species was in the 90s in the western Bulgaria when a nest was observed with fledglings. And after that, possibly the species was already extinct. The main threats for the species in the historic past was the wide and frequent use of DDT in agriculture, also direct killing, because in the 50s and in the 60s, all kind of raptors were directly shot by hunters. And the widespread use of poisoning as well. Another very significant threat at that time was nest robbing. There were many records of nests being robbed in the 80s and in the 90s, with the chicks being sold out of the country, also used for taxidermy, etc. And this all led to the potentially to the extinction of the species. Some more recent data in 2010, there were some observations in the mountains of sacred falcons with some territorial behavior, but never a successfully breeding pair was discovered. So the first discovery came in 2018 when one breeding pair was confirmed and was breeding on a pylon using a nest built by a long-legged buzzard. So in the next years, the intensive monitoring that was carried out helped to confirm two breeding pairs in 2023. Then this number rose to three breeding pairs in 2024 and a record number of six occupied territories last year in 2025. Three of these territories were occupied by pairs, and three territories were occupied by single males. It should be noted that all of the individuals that were recorded breeding and occupying territories in Bulgaria after 2018 originated from a reintroduction program, and they were all ringed and individually identified. What are the current threats for the population? Still, poisoning is an issue, especially in some parts of Bulgaria. There are lots of rodenticides being used, not in the areas where the sacred falcon is now recovering, but this is a threat also in areas where the species, especially the young ones, are dispersing and feeding. Another significant threat is the use of poison baits, mainly by pigeon keepers. In Bulgaria, the pigeon sport, especially with high flyers and racing pigeons, is very popular. And because of the direct loss of their pigeons, pigeon keepers are lacing pigeons with poison and releasing them in the surroundings of the villages. We already confirmed one dead specimen of a Saker falcon last year that was killed by such poison bait. Another significant threat is electrocution. We found two electrocuted Saker falcons over the last few years, considering that a very small number of them are GPS tagged. So probably um, this threat is much more severe than we can measure at the moment. Also, direct shooting and illegal killing, the habitat destruction, especially the decrease of prey species like the suslik. Potentially nest robbing could be still an issue, although we have no such records over the past decade, and to a lesser extent, disturbance, considering that at the moment, Saker falcons are breeding in the mountain where the nests are hardly accessible. Some information about some conservation work. Uh, as I said, the current breeding population of the Saker falcon is thanks to a reintroduction program that is developed and implemented by the Green Balkans NGO since 2015. So since then, they started captive breeding and annually releasing individuals. They have released over 160 falcons so far. And as I said, all of the falcons breeding currently in the country are with rings, and they were identified as released as part of the program. The oldest individual breeding in the wild is a 10-year-old male that was released in 2015 and is still alive. In the frame of the Life for Falcons project that started in 2021 and ends this year, we did a very intensive monitoring of suitable habitats for the species. We found we found that all of the Saker falcons at the moment are breeding on cliffs in Bulgaria, and they are occupying mostly nests built by ravens, but also by long-legged buzzards. We also conducted a study of the three breeding pairs in the country by collecting food remains from the nests, also installed a camera trap in one nest, and by direct observations, we collected 144 prey specimens. And an interesting finding was that rodents consisted over 80% of the food of the Saker falcon, with the Suslik European ground squirrel being the most important prey item for the species. Actually, all of the pairs are breeding close to large Suslik colonies. And surprisingly, the pigeon, the feral pigeon, consisted only about 5% of the food. That is during the breeding season. Probably in winter, when the susliks are hibernating, this percentage is increasing. But during the breeding season, the percentage of feral pigeons is quite low. Over the past decades, we at BSPB have been installing nest boxes in different parts of the country. In the beginning, mostly in the north, especially in the northeast Bulgaria, as the closest breeding population to ours is in southeast Romania. So we expected some expansion of this population towards Bulgaria and try to ensure suitable breeding sites, installing nest boxes on high voltage power lines. So overall, we have installed over 400 nest boxes all over the country. And in the frame of the LIFE project, now we installed 60 more nest boxes that were concentrated mostly in the southeast of the country, close to the release site and to the area occupied by the breeding pairs. So far, we have not established any breeding records from a nest box, although nest boxes were widely used by a variety of other species like ravens, kestrels, long-legged buzzards, etc. An important conservation action is the mitigation of human-raptor conflict and especially engaging with the pigeon keepers. This is something novel that we piloted in the frame of this project. We started actively engaging and collaborating with the pigeon fanciers community, which was very difficult in the beginning. But we managed to build trust now, and we can say that we at the moment collaborate with more than 90% of the pigeon clubs in the country. We started testing together with the pigeon keepers different methods to reduce the mortality caused by falcons and by other raptors. So we tested drawing eye spots on the pigeons that proved to be with a good success and reduced the mortality rates and over 30%. So we prepared a good practice guide that we are now distributing among pigeon keepers, and is very well received. Also, we are supporting pigeon fanciers to construct pigeon lofts in some conflict hotspots. And yeah, there is a lot going on with the pigeon fanciers, and I will be glad to share more with anybody that is interested. Another standard conservation activity is the insulation of power lines, as this is one of the major threats for the species. So we've been doing mapping of the hazardous power lines in the southeast of the country and assessed the electrocution risk. Based on that, on different live projects, we've been insulating together with the electric companies the hazardous pylons. So far, we've insulated about 5,000 pylons in the broader area where the falcons exist. And now we started a new project for the imperial eagle and the Egyptian vulture. And the area of this project overlaps with the sacred falcon distribution area. So another 8,000 pylons will be insulated, and the sacred falcon will benefit from that as well. Training law enforcement officers is something that we've been trying to do on a professional level, engaging with the Vulture Conservation Foundation and the Wildlife Crime Academy. Some prosecutors and police officers from Bulgaria were trained in Spain. And after that, we organized similar trainings in Bulgaria for already over 80 police officers, prosecutors, and representatives of various authorities were trained to combat wildlife crime, especially poisoning and persecution. Special emphasis was placed on the crime scene management, including proper preservation of the crime scene to ensure evidentiary integrity. Also, officers were trained in the field how to deal with evidence collection, handling, storage of samples, especially from poison baits. And we got these special dedicated sessions on poisoning, also making demonstration with our anti-poison dog unit. We've been also dealing with habitat management. In the frame of the project at BSPB, we purchased 120 hectares of pastures. And with the support of local livestock breeders and farmers, these critical habitats were maintained in good condition, especially for the sussex and some other small rodents. Some of these pastures already were inhabited by sussex, and in some others, we did translocation actions. For example, we translocated 100 sussex from a pasture that was going to be destroyed by a solar panel to a land purchased by us. Another interesting and pilot activity is the captive breeding and release of Romanian hamster. That is an endemic species for the north of Bulgaria and south of Romania. In the beginning of the project, our colleagues from the Institute of Biodiversity and Ecosystem Research captured hamsters from the wild, from healthy populations, and started raising them in captivity. For the first time, they managed to breed these species in captivity with a relatively good breeding success. And last year, they managed to do the first release of hamsters in suitable habitats in the species range. Over 20 individuals were released, and another 40 individuals are going to be released in 2026. So, this is another very interesting and very novel activity of our project. So, this was in short about the status of the sacred falcon and some of the conservation priorities currently going on in Bulgaria. Thanks to all the partners in the Life for Falcons project, and thank you for your attention.